strangers on the internet. Today I'm going to be introducing my Magical Readathon TBR. Isn't this like artwork so gorgeous? It's like the official like artwork that G from Book Bros had commissioned. If you don't know what Magical Readathon is, it is a all the time readathon hosted by G from Book Bros, and it's basically like an RPG. You create a character and your character has a calling, which is basically a job that they want to have, and so they have to take classes at this magical school called Aurelium, where they like take classes which correspond with book prompts so that they can get this job or calling. That's just like the very short introduction. There's a whole lot more videos and like information on it. There's a lot of like backstory and stuff, but I found it very overwhelming, so that's like that's the basics of it that you need to know if you want to join, which I highly recommend. I've been very intimidated by it, but I decided, fuck it, let's do it this year. So this is my like little cover page for it. It's just in my reading journal. I did kind of keep my March set up and this separate, so here's March, and then fan fiction, where I'll track it, and then books, I've already started tracking some stuff that's moved over, and then we start here. So yeah, I just wanted to show you like how I have things set up in my journal, and then like some of the books I'm planning to read this or for Magical Readathon. This is my little like character sheet, and then these are images generated from Adobe Firefly. I just gave it some prompts, and then because I kind of wanted to visualize what my character would look like, but I'm not an artist or an artiste in any sort of way, but it's just a visualization tool for myself. Please go support your local artists. I know like AI art is like very, very frowned upon, and please ignore the fact that I used it, but it just helps my brain. So my character, her name is Lyra Moonveil. My guild, which is basically like my house, is the Order of the Crescent. My calling, which is basically my job, is Crafts Mage. And then just like random information, not important. But my background is Wildling. The province is Irithia. My heritage is an Air Earthling. And then my moon phase is the last one, whatever the last one is. I can't read it. The printer did not print very well. My conduit is a quarterstaff. The legacy of the Order of the Crescent is get to pick a familiar, which is why I have my little goat here. Her name is Goldie. I love her to death, even though she's not real. But yeah, this is the like little continent, and this is the Earthling information page. I just put them here for my own reference. This is the information for Order of the Crescent. This is the information for Crafts Mage. And basically the way that the callings or jobs work is you will get required classes somewhere on your sheet. And there's basically 2 semesters. There's the spring equinox and the autumn equinox. Right now, April is the spring equinox, and then in September will be the autumn equinox. Sorry for Southern Hemisphere folks, that's just the way it works. And so my spring equinox classes, so in the spring equinox, it's just classes, and then in the fall, it's grades. So you have to read like a certain number of books. Like there's basically like 3 prompts for each class, and then however many prompts you do from the class is what grade you get. So I don't know exactly how it works, but that's my understanding of it. So this is the syllabus for this semester, and then so on this side right here is all of the classes. So like, or the schools of magic. So alchemy, animal studies, art of illusion, etc. And then you have the focus, so what the class is about that semester. And then in the final column, you have what the actual prompt is. So my 3 that I have to complete for Crafts Mage are spells and incantations, artificery, and inscription. The printer really did not print out these words very well. So I'm just gonna go like down the list, they're alphabetical, and tell you the books that I plan to read for each prompt. There's one I already know I'm gonna change. I started Bad Blood, which is the final book in the Natural series, this morning, and it does involve a missing person, and so I will be using that for my missing persons prompt instead. And the book that I had and Bad Blood I originally had for a 4+ on Goodreads, I'll pick something else for that. So for alchemy, which has a focus in volume magnification, and the prompt is it has to be all capitals on the book cover. And for that, I'm choosing Stars and Smoke by Marie Lu, because it has all capitals on the cover. I'm not going to go into why. This is just basically an introduction, and then at the end of the month, I'll come back and be like, what did I actually read for this? So the next is Animal Studies, and it's Raccoon Studies is the course focus, and you have to steal a book from another TBR. I have yet to pick a book for this prompt. There's none. I've been like watching a couple TBR videos here and there, and none of them have really struck out as like books that I actively want to read this month, so I'll keep an eye out. But if not, I may steal a book from a previous TBR. That may be the way I do it, because I have a Ministry of Time on my January TBR, and my hold didn't come in until March, and I have like delayed for 10 days or something, so I could read that in April, and that may be the way I go, is I steal a book from my own previous TBR, but we'll see. The next is Art of Illusion, and the course is Distance Manipulation. So you have to read a book that you already plan to read this month. And for that, I picked A Girl Made of Snow and Glass by Melissa Bashtaust. It was a book that I had pulled for my April TBR already. I think it was a TBR jar pull, so I just slotted it in there. Next we have Astronomy, and the course focus is Lightfall, and so we had to do a color wheel spin. I got the color pink, and I have a couple options for this, but I think I'm going to read Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. I read whatever the second book in that series is, The Love Wager, I think, and really enjoyed it. I like Lynn Painter's adult stuff more than her YA, which I think is an unpopular opinion, but I really like her adult stuff, and I love The Love Wager and Accidentally Amy and whatever her other adult books are, the ones that I've read, and her YA ones I enjoy, but not quite as much as the adult ones, and so I really want to read Mr. The Wrong Number. It has a very bright pink cover, so I think that's what I'm going to do. Next is Conjuration, which has a focus on locational studies, and this is you have to do a random country generator, and coincidentally I'm actually in Japan right now, and Japan was one of my 5 options, and so while I'm here I'm hoping to read The Thief by Fuminori Nakamura, and this is a book about a pickpocket, I believe, but he's a Japanese author. The book is originally written in Japanese, but I found a audiobook in translation, so that's what I plan to read, and I hope to read it while I'm here in Japan, because I think that would be really cool. Next is Demonology, which has a focus in banishing basics, and this is a book with a missing person. Originally, I picked Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, but I already know I'm going to be switching it to Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, as I'm reading it right now, and it deals with the missing person. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, as soon as I was reading and I was like, Cece is missing, and I'm like, missing person. The most excited I've ever been for a missing person. Am I okay? Debatable. But then next we have Elemental Studies, and this is actually the prompt that I found the hardest. So it has a course focus in Earth, fruits, and you had to pick a book with fruit on the cover, and I couldn't find anything that I was interested in, and so I was just scrolling through my Notion because I have all the covers there, and I came across The Evil Queen, which is the first book in the Forest of Good and Evil series. It's a duology, I believe, and it has an apple on the cover, like a glass apple, which I'm like, of course it does, it's based on The Evil Queen. So The Evil Queen by Gina Showalter for fruit on the cover. Next is Spells and Incantations with the spell copy paste, and you have to pick a word from your last book title. At the time I was putting together my April TBR, my latest book I had read was The Emperor of Nihonja, and I could have picked like Emperor or the or of, but I wanted to pick Emperor as a challenge, and the book I ended up picking was is The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison, and so yay. Next is Artificery, which is a focus in clockwork mechanics. So I had to, at the time, like the time on the clock, whatever the hour was, that's how many words or letters had to be in the title. And so it was like 1 p.m. And so I picked 1. I guess I could have picked 13, but I picked 1. And so a one-word title, and I ended up picking Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I may end up switching that because I don't know if my hold is going to come in on time. It's supposed to be like 4 weeks, which would be right at the end of April, so it may become right at the end of April and I switch it to a different one-word title. But next is Inscription, which is the hook, and so you have to do a first line challenge, which was going to be hard for me because I'm abroad. So I ended up watching a video from from Book Bros, that she did like 3 years ago. And the one that stood out for me the most from that was The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. And like, since adding it to my TBR, I had never heard of it before this, like before adding it, and like I've seen it like 3 times since. So like, Fate is really like, girl, you gotta read this book. But I think it's romantic. Next I have Lore with a focus in The Song of Ages, and this has to be a musical term in the title. For this I plan to read Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab. It's the second book in the Monsters of Verity series. The first book is The Sapphic Song, if you're looking for a book for that prompt. But yeah. And next is Poisons and Divinations with a focus in psychokinesis, and this is a book with a witch or the occult. And for this I picked A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire by Sarah Hawley. This is the third book in that series. I want to say it's the Glimmer Falls series, but like there's so many. It's like an urban fantasy witch book. This is actually the only one that doesn't have witch in the title. The first book is A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, and then the second one is A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch, and then this one is A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. So there's witches in there, and it's like urban fantasy. I'm like, this fits the prompt good enough. Next we have Restoration, which has a focus in uncommon anecdotes. And this is the book with the 4+ star rating. Originally I was going to do Bad Blood. I think it has like a 4.37, something like that. I'll be switching it out for something else. That'll be most likely a mood read that ends up with a high rating. And then last but not least, we have Shapeshifting, which has a focus in miniature dragons. This is this equinox's semester or whatever. Magical Readathon has a focus in dragons. And so this has to be a dragon on the cover or in the title. And I plan to read A Natural History of Dragons by Maury Brennan. This is also the like book club book for the Order of the Crescent. So I wanted to read it this month anyway. And I'm like, dragon on the cover, dragon. So yeah, that is my pre-month reading check-in on Magical Readathon. I've already told you I plan to change at least one of the prompts, so we'll see what I end up reading for the month. But yeah, next you will see future me telling you what I actually read, and I will find out in like 30 days. So, all right, see you soon. So it is much later than I was planning to film this. It is May 25th. And I am finally filming my wrap up. I'm gonna have a picture of this right here so I don't have to hold it up, and then I can still look at it. But these are the books that I read for Magical Readathon, and I just wanted to go over them really quickly. I have all my thoughts for these in various other videos, so I'm not gonna go over it. You can see what my readings are. But for, oh no, I have to read what this says. For Alchemy, it was a book with all capitals in the title, and I ended up reading The Wild Robot. For Animal Studies, that was Steal a Book from Another TVR, and I did read The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. For The Art of Illusion, that was a book that I had already planned on reading this month, and I read The Kingdom of Back. And for, let's see, for Astronomy, that's based on a color wheel. I got the color pink. And I read Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. And for Conjuration, that was a random country generator. And you had to do 5 countries, and one of the countries I got was Japan. I was actually in Japan this month, so I read The Thief by Fushinori Nakamura. For Demonology, I had to read a book with a missing person, and so I read Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. For Elemental Studies, that's a book with fruit on the cover. I took this a little bit more loosely, and I just did a book with plants on the cover. I can do what I want. It's my version of the reading challenge. So I read A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. Does have plants on the cover, not specifically fruit. For Spells and Incantations, this is a book with a word from my last title. I read so many hockey romance books in the month of April, and a lot of them had the word pucking in it. So I read Pucking Wild, which I read after Pucking Ever After, Volume 1. And then that's the first book for My Calling. The second book for My Calling is, no. Yes. Pucking Wild is the first book for My Calling. The second book for My Calling is Artificery, which is for me it was a one-word title, but it's the check the time and based on what hour it is, that number of words or that number of letters. So I know I mentioned before Belladonna, but I also remember specifically mentioning that I might switch it out, and I did switch it out for Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. And then the third book for My Calling was Inscription, and this is a first sentence challenge. And for this, I chose The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy. I was like immediately hooked in from right at the beginning. And then for the rest of the prompts, lore, this is a book with a musical word in the title. Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab or Victoria Schwab. For potions and divinations, is that what that says? The ink on this didn't print very well. But it's a book with the witch or the occult, and for this I read Beautiful Demons by Sarah Cannon. And then for Restoration, that's a book with a 4+ star on Goodreads, or just a 4+ star rating. Mine is from Goodreads. And I read The Deal by Elle Kennedy, my second Elle Kennedy book on this list. And then for Shapeshifting, this is a book with a dragon on the title or in the cover, and I read A Natural History of Dragons, which was also the book club book for my house, the House of the Arcane. Is that right? I have it here. House of... do I not have it here? I don't know. Whatever my house is. That's the one. Oh, Order of the Crescent. Is that it? I think that's it. Yes. For the Order of the Crescent, our book was Natural History of Dragons, and I read that. So I can choose how I want to participate in this readathon, and so I counted the books that I finished at the beginning of May as well. So 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle and The Kingdom of Back. I didn't read until May, but I counted them even though it's supposed to be just for April. I do what I want. And then the plant thing, and then some of the books I changed as I went along. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, sorry this comes up so late after Magical Readathon, but if you're still participating, I know Joshi Curran has said that she does it by like semester, so as long as she has these prompts done before the autumn equinox starts, if that's the way you're doing it, maybe these can inspire you. But yeah, that's that. Thanks for watching. See you someplace else on the internet. Bye bye.